So we are so excited. We are here to talk about the big, exciting wedding on One Calls the Heart.
Woo!
And Ruth is here with me.
Hello, everyone. Nice to be here.
Yeah, and I have to do some, house cleaning at the beginning of this. So Amber is not here because, life gets in the way. And so she would rather be here than being at work. But, you got to pay the bills in order to be a happy podcaster. So she can't be here. And we are actually having, because of life getting complicated, this is going to be our weekly podcast, our regular Wednesday podcast this week. We were going to talk about the mysteries, but again, it just became, we just couldn't do it. It seems like it's a mystery of when we're going to be able to do the mystery podcast, but we will do our best. We're just trying to do our best here. And I'm so grateful that Ruth is here to talk about this big wedding episode.
Oh, yeah. I am super excited to talk about this episode.
So it was everything that you hoped it would be, then, it sounds like.
Yeah, because as I wrote, seriously, my expectations were very low, I'll be honest. I didn't figure it was going to live up to any of the hype. I've been watching the show from the beginning, and I mean, in many ways, I was prepared to dislike the wedding. I figured it was going to be really, I figured it might be come off as being corny and just over the top.
Yeah.
That's what I was setting myself up for. My mom was too. I think we both were kind of wondering, what is it really going to be like? Is it really going to be enjoyable? And literally when it got to the wedding, I couldn't tweet. I actually stopped. I set my phone aside and just watched it.
Oh, wow.
And I was really blown away by it. I didn't expect it to be that good.
Well, they say the secret to happiness in life is low expectations. So
That's true. Yeah.
And so I enjoyed it. I really did. And I like a wedding episode of a show. It's always fun. But I thought some of the choices were kind of baffling, and I what are they doing? But I still liked it. It was still good. So we're gonna talk about some of those choices that I was just like, why did this need to happen? But it starts out, I thought it was really funny. It starts out with Elizabeth in the classroom, and she's like, would you kids rather do math or decorate for the wedding?
Okay, I'm sorry. Why was she teaching school right at that point? No, if you have a wedding to plan in 2 weeks, get somebody else to fill in, or call a school holiday. Just say, I've got stuff I need to do for the wedding. You're not going to concentrate on school. And I mean, did she really expect that the students would say, oh no, we want to stay in school and learn math and all the other things?
Especially math. I would have been like, I don't care what the other part of the would you rather is in that discussion. Like, I would have picked almost anything.
Right.
I mean, maybe there's some real math geniuses in there, which all the children in Hope Valley are geniuses. So
True. They all are. Yeah.
So that made me laugh.
Yeah.
And I really thought, so we were very big on the Rosemary sort of defensive-ness train last week, and I stand by everything we said. So, but I won't. We won't reiterate everything this episode. But there was still some stuff that annoyed me. Like she immediately shares credit. Like if she was all as like stuffy and like, I don't know, the way that people sometimes treat her, she would have taken all the credit for the dress design. But in the very first scene, she immediately shares credit with Clara for designing the dress. And I was like, an egotist, as she's sometimes portrayed, would never do that.
Right. I sometimes think people don't give Rosemary credit for how much she has changed from season 1.
Yeah.
a lot of people still tend to think, well, she was that. The thing is, Rosemary is a very dynamic character in more than one way, but in this case, she is changed so much to, yeah, she's still Rosemary. Inherently, she's still Rosemary. I don't know if she necessarily chooses to take so much credit. I think that it's just her personality. Some people are charismatic and they walk into a room and you notice them.
Yeah.
That's Rosemary.
Yeah, exactly. But I thought that was really impressive that she was immediately like, we did it together. That was really cool. And so then we have all kinds of people coming back. This is like very exciting. The first people we have is Tom is back, brother.
Yeah.
And we have Julie is back.
Yeah.
And I was so excited to see the two of them back.
Yes. Oh yeah. That was great.
Do you think that we'll see more from them, or do you think that's just for this episode? Because I would love it if we would.
Oh, I would love to see more from them. I mean, I got the idea, at least when I interviewed Charlotte, who plays Julie, that I got the feeling that we wouldn't just see her at the beginning of the season. So I'm hoping that means that she is at least in and out, and it sounds like she is hoping to, if there's a season 6, to come back next season too. So as far as Tom goes, I think it'd be great. I mean, hey, why not? He seems like he's grown up. Seems like he's accepted responsibility, and he and Jack were getting along well. There's no fighting between them or anything like that. They weren't beating each other up
and he's like become like a businessman, evidently, or something.
Yeah.
So I would love to see more of them. I guess Julie, we find out she's been going to art school. And so I don't know how much we'll see of them, but I would love it because I think they're actually interesting characters. So I hope so.
Well, hopefully Julie is just the next town over. Hopefully it's not like she's super far away. I hope.
Yeah, hopefully. So then we get one of the things that I was baffled by. We get Bill taking over the Mountie business and going and confronting this. There's this like stakeout. And I just didn't understand why this needed to be in this episode. Like, there's just enough conflict with a wedding as it is that this just seemed like every time I go back to it, I'm like, ugh. Why are we going back to this? And it just seemed completely unnecessary and completely dumb. I didn't get it. Didn't like it.
Well, it really didn't bother me. But then, I like Bill, so I always have. I think that it was more to show that there could have been. I mean, Jack they kept it all from Jack. He had no idea what was going on with that. And I first thought, oh my goodness, Jack's going to get called away and the wedding's going to have to be postponed after all this. That was my first thought when the telegram came. I mean, I figured it was Hallmark and that wasn't going to happen, but I thought maybe that would happen. And then it's like you see Bill stepping in and trying to keep that from happening. And
it was supposed to create conflict with the rings, but really in all of Hope Valley, it's not like I guess they had the inscriptions on the inside, but they were just wedding bands. You're going to tell me that there's nowhere that they could find just plain wedding bands? Like, you know what I mean?
Well,
like, it just all felt like, why are we wasting time with this? Like, I don't understand. I want more of the wedding stuff. Like, I want more with these other characters that are getting brought back. Like, why not stuff
what I expected was that Bill would go and find Josie's character. That's actually what I expected to happen. Because since Josie comes back, I can't think what her character's name is.
That would have been slightly better. That would have at least, I don't know, he was bringing a date to the wedding. I don't know, just something. It just made no sense to me.
That's what I was hoping would happen. My mom and I both said, oh, he's going to see Josie.
Yeah.
He's going to go in and find out. And then it's like, oh. So that was probably our point of disappointment, is we were hoping that she was, because we know that she comes back because it's been teased that she comes back this season. So
Like,
that was, I
it
don't know.
wasn't even ended in a satisfying way. It was just kind of like, oh, I guess he got free. He climbed through the cellar.
That I will admit that did not make sense. And I tell you, the other guy that was the Mountie, I mean, how green was that guy? He was just like, I thought, what? I did say something about that didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. I just thought, okay, he's like scared to death. Why is he even here?
Yeah.
But I wondered the same thing. How did Bill get free? Because I thought he's not there, and then all of a sudden he's there, and nothing was explained. So
like, there's so much conflict or like stuff they could have had in town, with all these people coming back. Like, why not have a Pastor Frank story, or why not have a Tom and Julie story, or just have like Elizabeth getting super stressed out or whatever. And I don't know. There's something about this Hope Valley that whenever they have a wedding episode, it has to like be this horrible disasters. Like, poor Rosemary had to give up all her bridesmaid dresses, and Elizabeth. So I don't know. I did not like the Bill plot. That was not for me. But moving on. Yeah. So you have Carson. He is helping Abigail cook, and I think can we kind of say that like Carson is the perfect man?
Well, sure, of course.
I mean, not only does he look like Paul Green, which is like already a huge plus, but he's a doctor. Yeah. And he can like cook, and like he's super charming.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Oh yeah. He sure. I'm with you on that. I think it's funny now. My mom she doesn't say it anymore, but before the season started, she was sure that Carson and Abigail were to get paired up. She was certain. And I even told Paul that when
oh, you did?
Yeah, because there were actually other people at HFR that thought the same thing. And he didn't have a comment at that point. Well, he didn't even know, because they hadn't even shot that part. He didn't even know where things were headed. But it was funny to see them together. I remember having the thought, yeah, Mom, see, I told you they weren't going to pair them up. I was right. I didn't say that, but
yeah. I do think that they are planning on pairing Gowan and Abigail up, and that will be. We didn't have any of Gowan in this episode.
I know. I think he was I think that he was at the wedding. People did post pictures. I've seen pictures around of him actually being at the wedding, but no, we didn't see much of him. I know that was, and something that I keep saying is, how on earth were they able to do this? And there's no money in the town. Right. I would like to know how they were able to pull all this off, and there's no money in the town.
Right.
I don't know what happened. Where's the banker? It's just like all of a sudden we have all the money we need. We have everything we need. How? There's no money. I realize guys that you're paying stuff on credit, but where are you getting everything?
It's very large credit, evidently.
Yeah, really large.
All right. So then we see Pastor Frank, and he's just pretty much kind of introduced, and Abigail's like, hi. And we don't really get a whole lot of explanation.
Right.
Did they even say where he's been? I can't remember.
No, not at that point. Later on, I think or maybe I'm thinking of of just what I've read about that he was supposed to be at the helping out at another town or something. But they didn't say a lot. That's true. But it was nice to see him. Mm-hmm. It was very nice to at least see him, that he was there. My mom and I both remarked how nice it was, which is really something, because my mom has not been a fan of Pastor Frank.
Okay.
And so for my mom to say, he looked really good, and she said, I think he even lost weight. That was what she said. I mean, so it's like, okay. And just, that was what she noticed. And I thought, oh, that's kind of cool, Mom. I know that
Pastor Frank's getting into shape.
Yeah. Well, I mean, hey, maybe because he doesn't have Abigail to cook for him. So
yeah, that could be. So all the returns I thought were really well done. I really liked seeing Elizabeth's dad. I really liked Julie. I really liked everybody that came back was very fun.
Yeah.
So then we have the kids that are like decorating.
I know.
And they, why were the kids lighting the candles? Just to practice?
Evidently, and I guess as my mom said, because I was kind of like, how did this happen? And she said, well, they didn't know, the adults didn't know the kids were doing that.
Yeah, so Jack hasn't given them a proper candle lighting demonstration.
Yeah. Right.
Because we know that nobody likes candles more than Jack. But
True.
And this is just it. Again, I don't understand why they felt they needed this conflict in the wedding episode, but nevertheless, it up in flames, totally demolished.
Yes.
And why was poor Opal left inside? What was going on with that? Like, did the kid, like, how did all the other kids get out, but Opal is left inside? And we were
well, no, we could do one better. Is one of the other kids had Brownie, so why did one of the other kids rescue Brownie but left Opal? Now there's
right. There's like really suspect here. I'm glad you mentioned that.
Yeah, because because I hadn't even noticed that. I was kind of like, how did she get Brownie? And somebody tweeted, "Oh, wasn't it nice that one of the other girls had Brownie?" And then as you're thinking about it, well, what's going on? Leave the bear, get the girl. But now, in all fairness, though, sometimes in an emergency like that, I do know that kids lose their heads. I mean, I do know that. I mean,
but it's a one-room schoolhouse. Like,
I know.
I was just like, what? And so, of course, Jack goes in saves Opal. Because can we agree that Opal is the cutest?
Oh, my goodness.
Right?
Oh, well, that's why she was left in the schoolhouse, because after all, Hallmark knew that if Opal's there, everybody's going to go, oh.
Yeah, all the other kids, it's like, oh, that's sad. Opal is like, what?
Right.
How
because
dare you?
I mean, I saw all the tweets about people saying, oh, whose heart stopped when Jack went to rescue Opal? Oh, not Opal. And
yeah. And so, yeah, poor Opal has to be rescued. It was very dramatic.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, in that scene then with Opal and Carson and Elizabeth, oh, that was like the absolute sweetest scene. I mean, I was just sitting there like, that was just like, wow, that was so cool to see.
It was so sweet.
Yeah.
Poor Opal. She's so cute that she's probably going to be put in all kinds of peril.
Probably. Right.
She's already like been practically poisoned by that medicinal
exactly
stuff.
Right. Yeah.
So Jack saves the day, and this was a remarkably sootless fire. Like nobody had any, like, it was pretty impressive. And and there was a brutal scene with poor Philip just like sobbing, looking at the church.
Yes. Oh yeah.
Poor Philip. Philip and Opal. They're like there's like all of the kids. I would say the order of kid cuteness is Opal, and then Philip, and then Cody. I would say.
Yes, definitely.
Without a doubt, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And so the reason, obviously, that they decided to have this fire was because, like, the whole community is going to gather together, and they're going to rebuild this schoolhouse/church.
Right.
And obviously, this takes like a massive suspension of belief.
Yes, as my mom and I both said. How now somebody did point out, and they did ask me this question, and I don't have an answer for it. Why was Elizabeth's wedding dress at the church and not at home?
No, because remember, Elizabeth goes to Rosemary and says, "Oh, I want to try on the dress," and she's like, "Oh, it's not quite ready yet. I'll bring it by the school."
Okay.
That's why.
That was it. See,
but why was the wedding dress damaged in like none of the church pews? Like the candlestick holders, everything else.
Because the dress was made out of silk, and I'm sure silk burns faster than wood does.
I guess.
I don't know. That's the best response. Well, I'm glad you filled that in for me, because I will admit that sometimes when I'm tweeting, I mean, I remember that, but I'd forgotten it. And, I'm so busy
Yeah.
tweeting, and sometimes I don't see everything, or sometimes I don't catch everything the first time
Yeah. I mean,
around.
I said on Twitter, these people should like start a disaster cleanup service
Yeah,
because
they can do
in
it that
one and a
fast.
half days
Yeah.
they have this church looking great.
Yeah. Right.
It's
Right.
pretty good.
Right.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
So, but I was fine with that. That doesn't matter
Yeah.
to me. I felt like
Right.
it was not necessary. Like we didn't need to have the fire,
Right.
but it was less unnecessary than the Bill stuff. That was like the Bill stuff was like super unnecessary, and this was just like kind of unnecessary. But nevertheless, it was fine, and I kind of
Yeah.
got moments of like of Elizabeth's father, like
Oh.
working with the town
Yeah.
and with Jack, and so you got some nice
Yeah.
moments, and then like
Yeah.
repairing the church slash
Yes.
schoolhouse.
Yes.
And and poor Lee is like now he's just giving out lumber like left and
Yeah.
right. I mean, this is going to be interesting to see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
I was very irritated when Elizabeth is walking down and she's like, "Yeah, Rosemary, she sure knows how to test my limits." And I'm like,
Mm.
"Oh my gosh, okay, so she is not only like making your dress, planning the wedding, but she also is willing to give up her dress for your dress, and
Yeah.
she is willing to give up her wedding ring at a moment's notice
Yeah.
when Linda
Right.
comes in."
Right.
Like, I just don't understand. Like,
Right.
help me understand why Rosemary would possibly like. I don't
I
understand.
can say it has to do with the fact that maybe after Elizabeth gets married, maybe she'll be more understanding, because it
Yeah.
was when Rosemary got married, that was when her growth really started to happen. Because in truth, Rosemary and Elizabeth could both have been considered to a degree before coming out to the prairie as being somewhat spoiled brats to a degree.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not trying to put them down. I'm just saying, they're very privileged, where they've been living, used to a certain way of life.
But Elizabeth much more than Rosemary.
I would say that's true.
Because
But
Rosemary just grew up around wherever Jack grew up.
well, yeah, but remember, Rosemary was also in New York, and she was wined and dined in New York, and she had and I think in Europe too. I mean, I think you have the idea of she's been all over the place performing. You get the idea.
Yeah.
And but also I think Rosemary is older. I at least the way I would see it, I think she's probably a little bit older, or at least maybe a little more mature than Elizabeth.
Yeah.
Elizabeth, I think, had a lot of growing up to do, because she'd been treated like little daddy's. She'd been daddy's girl.
Yeah.
She was daddy's girl. Anything she wanted, all of her needs and desires were met. Then she comes out to the Canadian wilderness, and it takes her a while, and she's learning, but I think she still has some learning to do. And hopefully in getting married to Jack, she's going to continue to grow and mature.
Yeah.
That's what you would hope. I'm not saying she's a horrible person. I'm not trying to say that. I think that she has a lot to learn about the way things are.
Yeah.
I think
what happens is Rosemary is a very extroverted person, and
yes.
Elizabeth is more of like an introverted person.
Right.
But like, just because you're extroverted doesn't necessarily mean you're difficult.
Right.
It just means that you're very expressive.
Right.
And so I definitely, I have like 2 podcasts and things. Obviously, I'm a very extroverted person. Right. So it's easier for me to relate to characters like Rosemary than it is for me to relate to characters like Elizabeth, where I'm just like, why are you being this way?
Yeah, well, and I probably can relate to Elizabeth. I can remember being much more keep to myself, not really even make my voice heard. I wasn't used to doing that. Very unsure of myself, not comfortable even with who I was. And so I'm sure that I can kind of understand, Elizabeth can still sometimes I think she still comes off as being A little bit. I don't mean terribly, because I think she's changed a lot, but I
Yeah.
think sometimes she comes off as being still a little bit privileged. She still
Yeah.
kind of has that. And I think that maybe in being married to Jack, that the idea would be that
Yeah.
that would even be lessened more, that she's going to, because we know that she loves the kids. There's no doubt she loves those kids.
Right.
And I think probably even being a mother would probably be even better for her still. I think it would. Yeah.
I'll be curious to see if they do have either of them have
Yeah.
children, like what that will be like. That will be interesting to see.
It'd be cool if Elizabeth and Rosemary have kids around the same time. I think
that would be fun.
I think that would be cool.
Mm-hmm. So, okay. So what did you think of the dress in the end, the final dress that was?
Honestly, I thought it was absolutely gorgeous. I really did.
Beautiful.
I loved everything about the dress. I loved Elizabeth's hair. I absolutely thought, I thought that look for Erin Krakow was absolutely gorgeous. I mean, I can't remember when I've ever seen her look more beautiful. My opinion. I really think it was.
I agree. I think the last, like, maybe even the last half an hour of the episode was like really great. Like, once Bill is back, everything after that I thought was just awesome. Some of the best I've ever.
Oh yeah, because when you have the father-daughter moment between Elizabeth and her dad, I nearly lost it at that point. I was like, that was nice. Such a wonderful scene.
Well, and I love that. I don't know if it's a proper word to call that a tiara or what you call that headpiece that he gave her. Yeah. But that was beautiful.
Oh yeah.
And that was from her mother.
Yeah.
Who couldn't be there. Why was her mother was in Europe or something?
Yes, because that's where Elizabeth's sister had a baby and was in Europe, and so I know that was kind of difficult, but then also you have to realize that those kinds of things did happen. There were times that back in those times when people couldn't get away, and if you were in Europe, and you found out that in 2 weeks your daughter was going to get married, you wouldn't be able to get back with them in 2 weeks.
Well, especially since World War I was going on.
Well, that's true. That's kind of yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. Okay, so it's true. Like, you couldn't just. I was kind of hoping they might bring back Brooke Shields just for as a cameo.
Oh, I know.
That's fun. For Jack's mom.
That would have been nice.
That would have been fun, but can't have it all. So anyway, I loved her dress, and I guess they're having some kind of contest where somebody can win the dress. So
right,
they were saying on Home and Family. So if you're interested, go check that out, because that can be exciting.
Right.
It was a beautiful dress, and I guess like Dan Lissing was saying that like they kept her away from him. Mm-hmm. So like his expressions, I think, were pretty genuine of seeing her and everything. And so we do get this before the wedding actually takes place. We get this little like girl talk between Rosemary.
Yes. Oh, that was funny. That was fun. That was great. I loved that.
It was a very like PG girls talk kind of thing.
Yes.
It was very
it was.
cute.
Yeah, it was great. I loved that.
Yeah, that was really sweet.
Rosemary was that was that was probably her one of her finest moments ever. Just that whole all the stuff she was talking. That was fun. Yeah,
because she's basically saying sometimes you have to admit when you're wrong. Usually it's Leland who does.
Right. Oh yeah.
It was cute. And so that was fun. And
then you had Jack going to Lee and talking with Lee about having a little man-to-man talk.
Yeah, that was good.
I mean, it was short, but it was kind of like he finally admitted, "Yeah, I'm nervous." Well,
that was good too. That's true. Yeah. And Bill makes it back.
Yeah.
And I guess he has the rings, so everything, and then we get to the wedding.
Yeah.
So you have Opal, of course, is the flower girl.
Yeah.
You got little Philip with the rings, and it's something blue.
Yeah.
And that was adorable.
Yeah.
And of course, everything is you wouldn't even know there was a fire.
Right. Well, no, of course not. No.
They're so amazing at their
Yeah.
at their recovery. But then yeah, you have her father walking her down the aisle, which was really nice.
Oh, and
And
what wasn't it great that Timmy was playing the wedding march? I thought that was the little boy
I
was
didn't
playing.
even notice that. Okay.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I thought that was really cute because they had him last season, I think it was. He played the piano like when they did one of their little programs or something.
Okay.
And so it was really cute. I thought it was
That is
great.
cute.
It was great that you still had that they brought Timmy back and he's getting to play the wedding march. I thought, yeah, that's cool. Yeah, that's a great way. If the kid has that kind of talent, that's great that you could do that. So yeah.
Yeah. So we're gonna play a little game of the Battle of the Vows. I have the vows written down here. And we're
Uh-oh.
gonna think who has the best vows.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So here we go. We got Jack. He says, Elizabeth, I choose you and no other. Your happiness is the only question I want to spend the rest of my life answering. Your heart is the only flame I will endeavor to keep alight. Before you said yes to marrying me, I was already yours in every way. Hopefully not one way. So I marry you today without hesitation or doubt. I am committed to absolutely. I love you with everything that I am forever. So there's Jack. Very sweet. Okay, now Elizabeth. Jack, I never expected to find love when I came to Coal Valley, but somewhere along the way, without ever realizing it was happening, you became the most important person in my life. You're my shoulder to cry on, my favorite to dream with, and my greatest surprise. I'd offer you my heart, but the truth is you've had it for quite some time now. So instead, I will give you my soul. I love you, Jack Thornton, from chalk dust to eternity. I am yours.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty romantic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What do you think about these?
Well, both vows were certainly indicative of who they are as people. It was, definitely, I was really swooning at Jack's vows. I know a lot of people have been going on and on and on Twitter about how perfect Elizabeth's vows were. And yes, they were. I'm not saying they weren't, but I tell you, Jack's vows were so romantic. Yeah. So just, I
think when a man is vulnerable like that, it is super sexy.
Yes, exactly. Super,
it means more than when a woman is that way.
Right.
Maybe it shouldn't, but it still does, I think.
Right. I think with Elizabeth, it was very much her that it was nice that she had the moment of levity there with from chalk dust to eternity was the point when it was, because things were so, they were so heavy. The vows were so, we're just so wonderful, and you're really getting touched by all that, and then you have that moment of levity. So I really did appreciate that she had that little moment of levity, and I thought, and that's very much Elizabeth. It's like she kind of puts that in, and so that was cute. But for me, yeah, I agree. When you have a guy that is really telling from his heart and saying it in such a really a way that shows that he actually put time and thought in what he was saying.
Yeah. And so have you heard the story about what happened to Dan Lissing before they filmed this scene? Have you heard about this? So I guess he found out his beloved grandfather had passed away in Australia right before the filming of this scene. Mm-hmm. And so that's part of the reason I guess his emotions were very close to the cuff. Okay. And very, because he was on Home and Family.
I have it on my DVR, but I haven't had a chance.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, that's okay. That's fine.
So I guess he had found out about this grandpa he was very, very close to had passed away. And so that's why he was especially kind of emotional when doing this scene. Because sometimes, I'll be honest, Dan Lissing can be a little flat for me. And
Yeah.
for the first like 2 seasons, I was kind of like, why did they pick this guy? Like he's
To a degree, I'm with you there. It took a while for I've noticed this season especially. I mean, I started to notice last season, but this season especially, that he has really brought it to another level.
Yeah,
in my
I
opinion.
agree. Like very sweet, and you got to see everybody very happy, and it was just a sweet, lovely little moment. And then they have the, I guess, reception.
Yeah.
After, and the only thing that kind of annoyed me at the reception is they have this lovely moment with her and her dad dancing, and I wish that that had been allowed to go a little longer.
Yeah.
Like Jack, shoulder bumps him, and it stops the dance, and I'm like, oh.
I know what you mean. I have a feeling that they ran out of time, in my opinion. I'm sure.
Yeah.
I have a feeling that it wasn't meant to be. It was meant to be that they did a full dance. I could be wrong.
Yeah.
I have kind of the idea of we want to have this scene here, but we're out of time and we don't know what else to cut, so we're gonna have to make it short.
Because you got to see all the couples kind of coupling up, which was sort of fun. You saw.
Oh yeah, wasn't Carson looking just absolutely dashing?
Yeah.
Oh my! I was like, oh yeah.
And that was a big moment. So him and Faith, because Faith we saw earlier, she helped with the dress,
right?
Because we hadn't seen her for an episode or 2, I can't remember. But anyway, and so she's just amazing. She can sew super great, and she's a nurse, and
right.
And so her and Carson have their big dance.
Right. Now, the thing is, I don't mind them developing a romance between the two of them.
I know you haven't been that high on it.
No, I mean, I don't mind it, but I just want it to go slowly. I'm really tired of reading comments that say, let's have it go really fast and blah, blah, blah. Actually, let's have it go slowly. Why does it need to go fast? Faith has already made enough mistakes with going kind of fast, and let's have it develop slowly. After all, Jack Elizabeth, it took 5 years. I mean, I'm not saying it was 5 years, maybe as far as the show goes, but you had 5 seasons. Yeah, right. And so why does there have to be all of a sudden? I mean, even Lee and Rosemary took a little while. I mean, they took a season.
Right.
So let's not. I hear people are saying, "Oh, well, there's already so much chemistry between Faith and Carson." Actually, that story's just beginning. Yeah. I've read some people say, "Oh, well, they just brought Carson on to be the love interest of Faith." No, actually they didn't.
No,
that's not that's really not. Actually, they wanted Paul Green on the show. That's why they made that character for him. They wanted him. They wanted him. I'm not saying necessarily they made that character for him. I'm not saying, I don't know all of that, but they wanted him on the show and they wanted to see what audiences would do. They weren't I mean, it was clear last season we didn't know exactly what direction they were going to go with Carson, and I think it was sometimes that's the way it is when you introduce a new character. Will the audience like the character? Will this character fit in to the story?
Shocked that they would bring Allie Liebert in. I mean, it looks like. Do you think she's coming back?
I don't know. I really, and that I wouldn't mind either. Honestly, I think it would be, because I really like the two of them together, but I have no idea. I don't know.
It is surprising that they would have bring that actress in for just like a 2-episode run, 3 episodes. I don't know, not very long. So that's very surprising, but
it could actually be interesting if he and Faith start casually going out, and then Allie Liebert's character comes back. I think that could really make it an interesting
love triangle.
Well, I think it could be. I don't mean it has to be overly. I don't mean it has to be done like a soap opera or something. I don't mean it has to be done but I think it could be an interesting thing.
I would enjoy it. I think that When Calls Art could use more soapy kind of like fun to me. To me, that's like I'm different than Amber because she didn't like the parts in Elizabeth's family very much, but I actually did because I thought it was sort of soapy and silly and I don't know, like that to me is more interesting than Bill at a stakeout,
Well, I still wish they'd bring Charles back. I think that would I think it'd be so great. I mean, they could even bring him back as a villain. I mean, he could come and bail out the town or something.
Yeah, what
And
if he's like the banker? That would be great.
I mean, I think it would have been. I really think it would have been great, because I think it could have. I think that, I mean, Marcus Rosner is still so much loved by the Hearties, even though his character was despicable. Well, now that Jax and Elizabeth are married, okay, bring him back and have him wreak havoc on the town. I think it'd be great. I mean, he's got the money to do it. Why not?
Oh my gosh, Gowan and Charles, like,
oh my goodness,
that would be amazing.
That would be awesome. Love the show.
He would totally be game for it.
Yeah, I think it'd be great.
Yeah. I think we should do that for sure.
Yeah. Well, and then while you're at it, you could bring Billy back. You'd have all these bad guys.
Oh my gosh, that would be so great. You'd have Gowan and Billy and Charles.
Oh my goodness, that would there you go. Yeah.
I would totally watch that.
Oh my goodness. You'd have so many hot guys who wouldn't know what to do. Okay.
Yeah. Yes. I think they should do that for sure. I was kind of surprised that, so you've got Abigail dancing with Pastor Frank, and I mean, I'm guessing we're not going to see him again. I don't think.
Well, he comes back. He's in next season. Or not next season. Sorry. Try it again. He's in the next episode.
Oh, he is?
Yes, he is in the next episode, because he actually leaves at the end of the next episode, as they've kind of shown that in the previews. So that's not really.
I wasn't even
in the previews. That's not really a spoiler. And actually, in my interview, he talks about the fact he's in this episode and this past episode, the wedding one, and this next one. However, as was stated in my interview, when he was done filming this episode that we'll see next week, Lori Loughlin did say to him, well, you're only in the next 10 over, so if we have a season 6, maybe they'll bring you back.
Basically, the episode, I went away. I mean, my only real problem was the Bill stuff. I was just like,
I know.
That I just didn't really like that, but that's not like a huge problem.
Right.
And I thought the fire was a little over the top, but it was fine. It provided some nice moments.
Right.
So I don't know. I mean, I'd probably give this a pretty high grade for the season. It was I think the actual wedding was
yes,
like a 10. It was as good.
Yes. And my mom would. I mean, we both agreed that it was a really good episode.
Yeah.
It was very well done.
So thanks so much for joining me and talking about this. We really appreciate it. And this weekend we have the Royal Matchmaker coming up. We do. Which, are you excited? Looking forward to that?
I think so. Yes, because that's Bethany Joy.
Yeah, in the advertising they're saying Joy Lentz. They're dropping the Bethany. I don't know what.
That's because she goes by Joy. I know that because that's what Andrew Walker told me, since he worked with her.
For Snowden.
Yeah, and so that's what she goes by Joy. I mean, that's what her. Yeah. I mean, technically it's Bethany Joy, but she really just goes by Joy. I
feel like the bar is pretty high. Like Royal Hearts was great in my opinion. So they have a pretty high bar too. I've also been reading Once Upon a Prince, which is coming up after, and it's
right. I know. I think Hallmark's capitalizing on the royal
wedding. Do you know they're even putting out like a box set, royal wedding box set?
Yes.
They will have Royal Hearts and then the 2 Meghan Markle movies in the box set.
Yeah.
Which I would love to get the box set, but I actually already have both of the Meghan Markle movies.
Right, yeah.
So I'll just get Royal Hearts. Yeah. But yeah, I thought Royal Hearts was great.
Oh my goodness.
Excellent.
Yeah. I know it's going to be, well, I think that, I don't think that they're going to try to compete with Royal Hearts, because again, it's a different, I mean, but I do, I think it has potential. I mean, usually, I'll be honest, the royal ones are fine. Yeah. I mean, I'm usually they're fine.
I'm really looking forward to this weekend. And then we have another episode of One Calls the Hearts on Sunday. And we'll have Meet the Pete's.
Yep.
Which is delightful.
Oh, it is. Oh, we're enjoying it. We really are. It's nice to see isn't it nice to see a happily married couple in Hollywood? I
Yeah,
mean,
it really is.
that actually it actually cares about their kids and doesn't spoil. I mean, does not go like overboard spoiling.
Right.
It's not like they have to they get everything they want, and
Yeah.
they're so involved in their lives. And I love seeing, Holly and Rodney, oh my goodness, they are
So sweet.
I
Yeah.
love seeing them. They just are like this perfect match.
And that
It's
RJ is just the
oh
sweetest kid.
oh yeah. Oh my goodness,
Adorable.
yes,
Really
yes.
great. So yeah, that's got a lot of fun stuff to look forward to. So let us know in the comment section or on Twitter or wherever what you thought of the wedding. Did you love it? Did you not like it? Where were you at on it? What grade would you give it out of 10? And we'll have on Twitter, we'll have Amber put some of her thoughts.
Oh yeah.
So you all know what she thought of the wedding. And I know she really wishes she could be here. But thank you so much for coming and being our co-host on this. And where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at RuthHill74. You can find my website is mydevotionalthoughts.net. And if you look on Facebook, you can find, if you just search My Devotional Thoughts, you will find my page.
Awesome. Thanks so much. And and you can find me at Rachel's Reviews on iTunes and on YouTube. And I got a whole bunch of new videos. They're coming. Every year I do a video on Did the Right Film Win, where I look at the animated films where I look at the films nominated for Best Animated Feature Film at the Oscars, and I decide did the right film win. And that's going to be posting today, actually. We'll post. So check that out. I'll have the links down to my iTunes and YouTube for Rachel's Reviews. And so please follow that. I would really appreciate it. And you can find Amber at Amber Brainwaves on Twitter. And so follow her on that. And we will see you all next week.
Yeah. All right.
Next week, by the way, we are doing a special episode of the podcast. We're going to be talking with our friend Mike Bloom, who is a fellow podcaster, and we are going to be talking about Once Upon a Time. So it's going to be super fun.
Ooh.
So, so something to look forward to. So,
good timing there. Yeah.
Yeah. So thanks again, and we will talk again soon next week.
Well, thanks for having me. It's great. Okay.